Leigh Drennan, welcome. It's an honour to have you on, mate. One of the podcast legends.
Thanks. I appreciate that. I feel like that's quite flattering, but I guess you have to say that given that I've made the effort to come in. It took me like 12 minutes. So
Yeah, pretty long drive.
yeah, long drive.
Yeah, big journey.
No, thank you. It's great to be here. I never get asked to do podcasts, really.
Oh, really?
Not really.
I thought everyone would be keen because you're a vet in the game of podcasting.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't think we have that many podcasts in Brisbane. Maybe I'm making that up. But it feels like not quite as big of an industry as probably like Melbourne, Sydney particularly, where it feels like there's a big representation, I guess.
Yeah, there is a lot, but I don't know. Pretty fun. So just have a laugh. First off, congrats on the engagement, mate. The big question. How'd it happen?
Yeah, great. It was it was very cool. It was just the deflating thing was it was far less of a surprise than what I thought it was. So I was stressed so much about it. A few people have asked, were you stressed about it? I wasn't stressed about Rochelle's answer. We've been together for a while. I think we've known that we want to get married for some time. Sometimes the finances are the thing that makes it a bit tougher, but I felt like she was always going to say yes.
Yeah.
But the actual organising of it and the work I put in behind the scenes, I thought was a massisse sort of surprise.
Yeah.
And then it turns out it just wasn't at all. She was expecting it the whole time. So
really?
Yeah, that took the wind out of my sails a little bit, but she still said yes. So I thought that was a win. But yeah, we were in New Zealand. We were doing a job over there actually, like for Jetstar. And so we sort of had been in New Zealand for the week. And then I made the decision really late the ring came earlier than what I thought it would.
Oh, so you weren't going to always do it?
No, that's what's so frustrating. Rochelle was like, yeah, as soon as I saw we were going to New Zealand, I thought that's where you'd do it. I was like, well, very close to not. If the ring hadn't have arrived, then there would have had to be a backup plan. But yeah, we were over there, and then I just decided, ring's here, I'll tack on a couple extra days at the end.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that I went wrong, the advice I'd give to any potential husbands to be out there is like organise some stuff in the lead up so that it doesn't seem so out of character for you to organise something, because that was the key giveaway. She was like, well, you've never organised anything for us in your life, so the fact that you started organising a day of activities was a bit of a like weird flag. I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I can see where I went wrong there.
Yeah.
But yeah, we sort of went to Queenstown, or like we were heading to Queenstown, but I sort of hijacked the trip and we went to Mount Cook on the way there, which is an unbelievable spot, like Lake Tekapo, I think it's called. I hope that pronunciation's all right.
Yeah, New Zealand's got some mad spots like that, like all the lakes and stuff like that.
Very, very cool. Like well worth looking at. And I think the slight surprise for Rochelle was that she expected it to be like a public sort of lookout. And I had booked like an Airbnb because the whole public proposal thing just scared me too much. The off chance that she said no would be the most humiliating thing of my life. So I was not prepared to put myself out there like that. So I booked an Airbnb and it was very private and mountains in the background and popped the question there. And then I'd also organised, the part that was surprising is I'd organised one of our friends from Brisbane who's like had some involvement in the We Got the Chocolate stuff. Her name's Yana, and she's
I've heard.
Yeah, she's an amazing person and also a gun photographer. And so I'd organised for her to fly over and be there, like to take photos. But she was so well hidden and so well committed to her job that I just had no idea if I was even in the right spot. I was looking around after I proposed. Rochelle said yes, and I was sort of like, this would be good if someone was here taking photos. And Michelle was like, surely you organised that. I was like, well, definitely thought I did. I could not find her. And then she popped out of the rocks, which was nice. Sounds weird to say, popped out of the rocks, but genuinely she was laying down taking photos in the rocks. So.
That's elite. What I'm hearing is Jetstar should sponsor your wedding as well.
Yeah, I know. I might have to reach out to them and try and get them on board. I'm not sure how like that goes down within weddings. Just a quick sponsored read before we get into the vows.
Hey guys, this wedding is sponsored by Jetstar.
I like it. It's got potential. I'm happy. I mean, with the cost of weddings, with all due respect to the people in the wedding industry.
Yeah. Or maybe get married 30,000 feet in the air. Jetstar plane.
On a plane.
Yeah.
Yeah, walk down the aisle like a literal aisle.
Yeah. Oh.
I quite like it.
Yeah,
I like it. You'd have a few random people involved in the wedding, but
that's always fun. So many weddings have random people. It's full of random people.
You're right, actually. I've emceed a lot of weddings, and you've almost got to keep the random people out of the wedding because they just decide that the event would be better with them being involved and making a speech about someone they don't know, and you're like, I'll just take that mic back, thanks.
Yeah, no, I had a wedding in Sri Lanka a couple of weeks ago, my cousin's wedding, and bro, the Sri Lankans, like I'm half Sri Lankan.
I didn't know that about you actually in my research of listening to previous podcasts.
You knew that?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I listened to the Will Taylor episode, and then another one like started automatically playing, and he talked to like, well, he was Sri Lankan.
Oh yeah, so I did that episode in Sri Lanka.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. But my grandpa's mate just rocked up to this wedding, and apparently my grandpa was like looking around. He's like, "Oh, are you invited?" And the guy's like, "Oh no," and he just somehow found a seat. Stayed the whole night.
Did you get fed and stuff?
Yeah, he got fed. It was a buffet, so he could just...
quite expensive, the old cost per head for feeding your guests at weddings. But yeah, we're going to have to run some selection trials for us, I think. There'll be a few people getting cut based on the price. Yeah,
weddings, especially here, would be so expensive. Yeah. I'm not that close myself, only 21, so got a few more years
to go. Yeah.
I want to take you back way before you were thinking about weddings and proposals. Growing up, what was your life like growing up?
Yeah, nice. Well, I was born in Cairns, but I can't remember anything about it. I've got like my go-to joke about Cairns is like two baked beans travel around Australia. Where do they end up? In Cairns. And people love it, except I've told it 6 billion times, so now they don't love it as much. But that was where I was born. But then we moved down. I moved down with mum when I was like 3. So. Yeah. I don't really have any memories of Cairns. All of my early memories are of Brisbane when we moved straight here, and then had a brother and sister, and they were both younger than me. And brother is 7 years younger than me.
Is he that much younger?
He looks a lot older than he is. He's a father and a husband now, and so
how old is he?
27.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought you guys were closer in age than that.
No, I think that's because he gets told he looks older. I never really get told I look younger, but he gets told he looks older, which I think he hates, but he's sort of come to terms with now.
Yeah, well, at least he probably got into the bottle earlier.
Yeah, that's right. He had a deep voice when he was 10.
Did he have the mo when he was 10 or not?
We've grown the mo ever since 2014. So Mitch was in year 12, who's my brother.
Oh, yeah.
So he's grown it for a long time. We just never saw Dad without one. So when he passed away, it was like a bit of a tribute to him. Yeah. And we just never got rid of him. I shaved it off once, and I thought that the gap between my nose and mouth looked way too big.
Oh, so I
grew it back, yeah.
And that's like me. I've been growing this since like 2021 lockdown probably. It's not great, but
nice. Lockdown,
it's honest work. Yeah, exactly.
Good, yeah.
You
can do a lockdown anytime you want, really. It's just you at home by yourself.
Just sitting on the ground, locked down.
Exactly. I like it.
Did you obviously played sport growing up? Were you footy mad, cricket mad?
Yeah, I was going to say that was kind of my upbringing. That's probably what I remember the most about it is sport and everything being connected to sport. And cricket was always the staple. I started playing cricket when I was 7. And that was always my summer sport. But then in the winter, I tried all of them pretty much. We played tennis for a long time. That also went through the summer, so I think I had to give that up when cricket started getting a bit more serious. And then the winter sports, I had a crack at soccer, AFL, rugby league. I played one game of rugby union when I was older, so I never really gave that one a great crack. But I sort of rotated between those 3 because it was just, I liked them all.
Yeah.
Amazing group of mates sort of with all of them. And I liked all the games. Like even now, I still enjoy really watching NRL and AFL.
Yeah.
On the weekend, I probably don't watch as much soccer, but
no, soccer.
Definitely connected to sport. And even like when I wasn't playing for club, having Mitch as my brother, I taught myself how to bowl with my non-dominant arm to even up our backyard cricket games. And so we just always played cricket and footy in the backyard. And I was quite small for a brother who was 7 years older than his brother, and Mitch was quite big. So our rugby league backyard battles were far more even than what people would probably think.
Yeah.
In fact, he probably beat me.
That's good. It's good being from Brisbane because I guess you get the AFL and NRL here. But if you're from Melbourne, you only get really AFL. And if you're from Sydney, there's a bit of AFL, but mostly NRL.
Yeah. And I think it depends a lot in Brisbane where some of the great bandwagoners of all time in terms of supporters. So when I grew up, I think 2001, 2 and 3, the Brisbane Lions won the premiership. So it was AFL mad in Brisbane at that time. And then like the Broncos, obviously, I think they won it in like 2006, the NRL premiership. So then everyone swung back to NRL thinking that was the best sport in the world. And then the Lions were terrible for about 15 years there. Yeah. And now the Brisbane Lions have come back good. So
everyone's AFL
back
again.
on AFL again, yeah.
Do you follow the Broncos?
Yeah, I do follow the Broncos, but probably not as passionately as I follow the
Lions?
Brisbane Lions.
Yeah. Nah. I was at the 2023 grand final when.
Yeah,
That's tough. That's tough.
Yeah, because Brisbane Lions were in the grand final.
Yeah, they had them all.
So they lost that the day before. I was playing cricket, and there was one Collingwood supporter in the clubhouse, and I had to go out and bat. It was the worst timing ever because we were all watching the game, and then some idiot got out, so I had to walk out and bat.
Hey, when that happens,
and I could just hear this one Collingwood supporter going nuts. So I knew that Brisbane had lost the grand final. I had to go home and watch it after that.
Oh, did you have it like? Did you check the result, or did you just?
I was trying to we were watching it live, so I kind of was following it anyway.
Yeah.
But then I obviously couldn't see the score when I was batting. I could just hear what was going on.
Yeah.
And everyone, it was like they forgot that we were all meant to be playing cricket. They were just the only people that were invested in the game were the ones actually on the field, and all of my teammates were just watching that grand final. So I knew what the result was because there was this one idiot Collingwood supporter that just started cheering at full time.
No, that's funny. You're obviously a handy cricketer. Play first grade cricket. Played a second 11 game for Queensland.
Yeah, I played a few. I think I played 6 at the end of the second 11.
Fire. Was that the dream growing up?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely no harm in admitting that. I think in year 12 I announced that that we did this survey thing that I didn't realise the responses were going to get read out loud by the teacher, but that it was like, what would you want to be basically when you leave school? Because we're all sort of year 12, and I just announced professional cricketer, and then the teacher read that out, and sort of everyone laughed. I was like, that hurts. But I got close, to be fair, but I certainly never made it. It would have been great if I made it just for that year 12 memory, because now it's still stuck in my head as what an idiot. But
I feel like you weren't wrong. Professional cricketer, second 11, first grade. That's professional.
Well, we got paid for that game, so I think that counts.
Yeah, that counts. I reckon that counts.
But yeah, that was absolutely the dream. Ever since I was probably 7 or 8 years old, cricket was the thing that I was most in love with. Still to this day, probably I'm like 34 now, and I still try and play at the highest level that I possibly can. And I probably don't have the same dream and ambition of being an Australian cricketer anymore. As much as you've scored 500s in a row, they'd have to start looking at you.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I get frustrated when I don't go well. I love it when I do go well. It's still something that I probably don't train as hard for anymore, which also makes it harder to be really good at. There's no question about that. But it's something that I still love. Yeah, absolutely.
Were you always the sort of funny kid growing up? Because obviously We Got the Chocolates is a comedy podcast, and you're front and center of that. Were you always pretty outgoing growing up, or did it come later in life?
Yeah, it's funny, like the little memories that stick in your head, because I can't remember that much from when I was young, but I remember in year 4, there was this kid called Mark Rook, who I haven't spoken to probably since, but he announced to the class one day when we were doing like group work in year 4 that Leigh is the funniest person at the school, and he said it to everyone. And I didn't probably even know what humour was back then, or what being funny really meant, but I remember that sticking in my head and being like, okay, I've got something, like I'm humorous in some capacity. And then, I think from that, not really from that point on, it's probably something that was part of my personality already, but my dad was an idiot, that did heaps of stupid dad jokes and just silly things. And that was probably where I sort of based a lot of my humour on, it was his type of humour, I guess. He was just like kind of a bit of a fool, I guess, but like in that lovable larrikin type of way. And I don't think I ever chose to do that. It was just probably the way that I was brought up and my relationship with him, and by osmosis I started doing some of the same things. And then, I guess that was something that my teachers probably hated, because I was a bit of a class clown type of hard to keep quiet in class, and then went on to study teaching, which didn't really make much sense. So I don't think I would have been my teacher's favourite student when I was at school, because I always thought that I just felt like I had to keep practicing comedy, and I didn't really care about the timing. So if the teacher was mid-explaining something and I had a great gag, I would just tell it. Yeah. And they didn't tend to appreciate that. It was sort of like this whole thing about not speaking over the top of them and stuff. So,
didn't really listen to that.
So I think it was always sort of part of my part of my personality. And even with sport and stuff, it would probably be something that people would have thought about me, I think, as much as I was never really thinking about it ever becoming something that I did as a career or anything like that.
Yeah, I feel like that's a good thing about We Got the Chocolates. It's like comedy and really funny, but it's not. It's pretty much just you guys making fun of yourselves and just saying funny jokes, not making fun of anyone, or you know what I mean? Yeah. It's just straight comedy, which is really good. which is really, I feel like different to a lot of other podcasts and stuff, because it's just you guys making fun of yourselves and everyone loves that, especially Aussies.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like we're definitely, for the majority, we're the butts of our own joke.
Yeah.
Like, we take the piss out of ourselves more than anyone, which is good. Like, that's probably always been my sense of comedy, really. Like, I think I was a bit of a feeler, like, growing up, so, like, bullying other people for comedy was never really, like, my thing. I think making myself the target of those jokes always felt like just more natural for me, I think, and that's probably flowed across to what we do with We Got the Chocolates as well. We'd love it to be like a safe space for everyone too. Like, when mum comes in and listens, we don't really want to be like shock jocks that say horrendous things, and I guess that's not really our vibe. But like, none of that was really a predetermined. It was just, we just started sort of making content, and like, we didn't even have a plan when we started. It was like probably a lockdown thing too, where Mitch and I were living at mum's house, and we started. I'd just moved back from Adelaide, like trying to play cricket down there, and probably going, it's time to move home. And then COVID happened, and so Mitch and I were just in the same house, and it just, like, we just started doing it without a plan at all. Like, if I was starting something now, it would be very different, I think, to how we started that. So we never thought about it a great deal, but it always just was natural. We just wanted to be our personalities, I guess.
Yeah,
and hope that came across.
Yeah, I feel like that's a good thing that you guys just started it instead of trying to overplan and stuff, because planning just takes so much time. But if you start it, you kind of learn on the go and just get better quicker.
Yeah, definitely. And I absolutely agree with that. I think throwing yourself in at some stage, you just have to, because there's always going to be things that you learn by making mistakes anyway. You're never going to have the perfect launch plan or whatever. I think there's a happy medium where you can have some sort of a plan or like a strategy for the first couple of months, or where you see your niche being or whatever, that probably we would do slightly differently. But I think that element of just like exactly what you said, if we were to sit there and kept going like, oh, we could do this or we could do this, we would have never done anything. So that's the part I am thankful for.
Do you remember the conversation or the day when you're like, okay, let's do a podcast?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't even me. Like, I think I was probably like I was kind of the one driving it in a way, in terms of like around like the humour side and where it sort of sat with, because I'd like emceed weddings and people would keep coming up to me and going, you got to do something like this for a job. And the idea of emceeing random people's weddings didn't really appeal to me. I think I was good at emceeing because I could tell stories about the people I was emceeing the wedding of, and that's probably what made me good at it. So I didn't think that just sort of doing it for random people that I didn't know was going to be what gave me great satisfaction in life. So I think in that capacity, it was almost kind of like me behind it at the start, but I would have never done it. I don't think I would have just kept talking about it. I had like a pretty safe and cushy job as a teacher. Like I probably would have just kept speaking about it, and it's like that pie in the sky type of thing. And then I've got a mate named James Bazley, who is a professional cricketer, played for the Strikers last year. I think he's probably winding down more so now, but I was living with him. He was our housemate. Mitch, my brother, James Bazley, and I went on this trip we loved the Brisbane Lions. They were starting to get good, and we went down to Melbourne to watch them, but then we watched like heaps of other games on that weekend. Yeah. And we got home from that, and Baze was the one that just said, like, just do it, like, record it now. And I was like, no, I'll do it soon. And he was like, no, get the mic out. We're recording right now. And the first episode of We Got the Chocolates is that. Like, James Bazley's on it. Who's not on it anymore. It was recorded on our MacBook, so like you can hear my voice, but you can't really hear the other two boys because they're so far away from the MacBook. And that was how it started. It was him really that just like basically forced me to go record something and see how it sounds. So that was a cool moment.
Yeah, no, that's good from him, especially because once you start, it's so much easier to just keep going. But starting's the hardest thing. I still remember the first time I saw you boys when you interviewed Marnus. Yeah. I think that because you've interviewed him a couple of times.
Yeah, we've done him a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was the first time, and it was just as he sort of was in the Australian team and stuff. And then I started listening to you guys are honestly probably the first podcast I ever listened to, because I would have been like 15, 16.
That's cool.
So it's pretty sick to have you on, to be honest.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't realize that. That's lovely.
But yeah, how did it kind of transition into like, oh, we're just doing a podcast, to like, this is actually a thing, like we can make a living out of this?
Yeah, well, I genuinely I've probably listened to like a few of your episodes where you've asked people similar things, and I feel like my answer is always like slightly disappointing because I'd love to be able to be like, yeah, there's this magic pill and this magic moment, and like there's something that was really obvious, but yeah, because we often get asked that, like, how'd you do it, or what was the difference between you and other people? Because probably at that stage we used to get told like, oh, there's lots of podcasts out there, but none of them last through more than like 10 episodes. Everyone
it's like 1% or something.
Yeah, everyone starts and then realizes like, oh heck, this is pretty hard to garner an audience sort of thing, and then give up. And that was literally the secret for us, which is not a great secret, is we just kept making them. Like for the first like 96 episodes, I think we averaged about like at tops maybe 500 listeners an episode. Like, and genuinely that was after 96 pretty much 1 hour recordings of doing it every week for that amount of time.
Yeah.
But we never turned off. We just we found it fun. So people listening to it was a bonus. We found it really fun and engaging. It was almost like a forced social interaction for us to catch up with our mates and have a beer. And that's probably what it was in the end, was that it sort of kept going and we just kept doing it and staying consistent. And then I think the breakout moment for us in terms of growing a following was when Mitch, my brother, lost the odds game and had to get his dick pierced.
Yeah, that video is fucking. I think I've showed my parents that. Everyone, I'm like, you got to see this video. It's so funny.
Yeah, and that's like that, and that's a moment that we just sit and go like, we don't know how we're ever going to top that, because it was like amazingly unplanned and just could not have happened without like just those sequence of events just all coming together kind of thing. So and that I guess that video first kind of went viral. We'd probably had a couple of other videos go viral in terms of like the dad jokes and stuff, but I think that one got people across to the podcast, which at that point we were probably struggling with. And then it was just like was such a period of growth for us in terms of like learning a lot about like the art of grabbing a story arc and continuing to make content about it. I think for like the next 14 weeks we'd on the podcast we'd interview like pierces and ask what the dangers were. And like it was a great lesson for us in terms of almost like that Hamish and Andy style content, which inspired me a lot growing up listening to them on the radio. And we just learnt so much out of that, I guess. And it was probably, that was the point where we were like, because I'd always thought like my probably reason for starting the podcast was trying to get out of teaching, like trying to do something else. And I didn't exactly know what that something else was, but I knew it was connected to media or podcasting or emceeing or something. And so I just felt like starting We Got the Chocolates was a way that I could practice those skills. And then that video and story arc, I think we went from thinking this could be helpful for getting us a job somewhere else to this can be the thing.
Yeah.
So like we get really good at making content and making a podcast, and this actually does have the potential to be something we can do full time, which is a very cool thing, because that was never the dream at the start.
Yeah, I remember around that time when it was all about the Prince album and stuff, I started running a lot, and I would listen to the podcast and I would run, and I'd be like pissing myself laughing while I'm running, just running past randoms, probably thinking, who's this fuckwit? Just laughing while he's running. But that was so elite. And then your episode about when you did the first marathon as well.
Oh,
that episode is so funny.
Yeah, that was like troubling. We've still mentally scarred from that. Actually, for some reason, we're still kind of running marathons. Like I've done 4 now.
You did one. You did the Goldie not that long ago.
Yeah, and that was my best one, which is good. But I'm still not substantially better considering how long we've now been doing them for. But it was better. But that like just how much easier we thought it would be than what it was, I think was a staggering staggering for us to find out. To go like, we were cruising until like 27 kilometers and we're like, oh, we're guns at running. And then those next 12,
bro, hell,
we had like, I think we had a 14-minute K in there and we just couldn't move. Our legs are just locked up. Yeah. And so that was quite humorous. It wasn't humorous at the time. I was like, because
good content though.
Yeah, Michael, who Mikus has been in a lot of videos. Very funny man. He loves running. Like he's hooked on it at the moment, but he has been for a long time. Sort of goes in waves a little bit, but currently very hooked on it. And at the time was as well. Like he was the driving force going, I bet you guys can't do a marathon. Just how sort of a lot of our content is formed is just from
someone just says something
stupid about, could you do this? And everyone's like, well, to prove you wrong, I will try and do it. And so that was how me and Mitch ended up doing a marathon, because he'd already done like an ultra.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so he can run them, but Mitch and I were terrible.
Yeah. So
So that was how we ended up doing it, was basically to prove to him that we could do it.
Yeah.
And at about the 32 kilometer mark, we had a very serious discussion going like, can we do this?
Bro, that last 10Ks is like, you can't even explain it. It's just cooked.
Yeah.
I remember I did one, and after I sat down and just couldn't get back up, Like it was coming from both ends.
Yeah, it's insane. It's not pain like I've ever known before, and even like walking down the stairs the days after and stuff, you're just like, what have I put myself through here?
Yeah. How did you guys like link up with Mikus? Because were you always mates with him, or did you kind of meet him along the way?
Yeah, funny, like actually good story. I went to school with his brother, who was my age, and then Mikus, the first wedding that I ever emceed was the first wedding that he filmed.
Oh, yeah.
And so we kind of connected again that way. Like I'd always known him a little bit, like growing up, being friends with his brother. But we connected again that way. And then he like started to build a pretty successful wedding videography business. And I'd emceed probably I think every wedding that I emceed, he would have been filming. So we kind of connected all the time through that. And then when we started, we got the chocolates, I knew that video was kind of a key thing. Like people were doing a lot of pretty ordinary videos, particularly for podcasts. We put like a pretty high emphasis on doing it really well, and obviously because I'd seen his work so much in terms of wedding spaces, I was like, well, he definitely knows how to operate a camera. So if we can get him filming stuff, then that's going to make us even better. And that was kind of how he started. Like the first couple of videos, he probably wasn't even in; he was just filming them. But then, it's been like a natural kind of weave in and tie in moment where he's now on camera but can also film and upskilling all the time with editing and stuff too. So it's been cool.
Is he still doing all the filming and everything?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Anything that needs to be filmed well, we go to him. If it's a bit more like lo-fi and we can do it on our phone or whatever, then probably anyone can do it. But he still does a better job than everyone else. Yeah. So we try and get him filming as much as we can. Yeah. For sure.
Do you have a favorite episode of all time? Or?
Yeah, well, that one's hard to go past the 170, which is where the Prince Albert moment sort of happens, like the odds game. And I asked Mitch what are the odds of him getting a Prince Albert piercing, and then he loses that. I don't think I'll ever forget that kind of moment, I reckon, the 170. But then I always feel like around sort of like that time is where I always almost tell people to start, like follow the journey from there, because probably the first few weren't as good. We get people go back and listen right from the start. It's quite funny when we get messages saying like, hey guys, just listen to the first episode. Thanks for the audio quality. That's like pretty ordinary. Geez, I like most of them. That sounds stupid, but I'm trying to think of like other really funny bits like that have made sort of great episodes. 170. I've got to lock in 170. I don't think I can ever beat that. Hopefully we can beat it, and that's why we keep making podcasts. But yeah, certainly for the moment, that just sticks in my head, that number, so much. Yeah,
was at the time were your family like, are you actually doing this? Your family and mates and stuff, or?
Yeah, well, Mitch was the one that lost the Oz game, and we straight away were just like, we'll just delete that, because I was like, if the shoe was on the other foot. And it was me that had to get that done. I was just going, no way, like, not a chance I'm doing that. And so, straight away we were sort of like, well, don't get that done. We'll just delete that footage and never let it see the light of day. But Mitch was like, no, I lost the odds game, have to do it. So if it was someone else, I think Mitch is probably the only one in our group that would have actually gone through with doing it. If it was anyone else, we would have just gone, can't post that. It's a shame. Yeah. That's the most hilarious thing in our life, but we can't post it. And instead, Mitch just followed through. So I think his wife or girl, I think it was a fiance at the time, was not as pleased about it.
Yeah, I think I remember listening to an episode where you got her on and she's talking about it.
Yeah, that's right.
So funny.
That's what I mean. Like that period of the next 12 episodes was some of the funniest just memories of my life, I think, when we had, because Yana came on and we told her and she was just like, wait, so you're actually doing that? And just no one could believe it. It was just so funny to think back about.
What was it like going to the parlor where they do it and explaining, he lost a what are the odds game,
Yeah.
so he has to do this.
Incredibly awkward. I don't think they'd ever pierced a man's penis where there'd been 4 of his mates in the room, or 3 of his mates in the room, sort of watching, and you had to wait for it to like go numb. So we're just sort of sitting there staring at each other. I think Cody was like, "What's everyone up to this weekend?" So that was weird. They were like surprisingly on board. The part, like, they were wonderful. We went to Melbourne to do it because Mitch was so concerned about the safety of his member that he Google reviewed. He just got the Google reviews for like every piercing place in the country and went with the one that had the most 5 stars. So it was, they were pretty on board. They were happy, I think, that they were involved.
Yeah. Speaking of Goaty, how do you know him?
It was cricket. So when I played cricket at Valleys in 2008 and 9 and 10, Goaty was like 18 or 19 or whatever we were, and that was how we met. I moved club from Redlands to Valleys and started playing with Goaty. We were the same age, and just struck up a friendship there. And then ever since, I guess we kept in touch ever since, and played a lot of cricket with and against each other. He played like those second 11 games that you're talking about. I think he was the captain in those games, and so we've just always got along incredibly well. And like a lot of that pun-based, like dad jokes, stupid humour is just like a normal conversation between me and him. Like any opportunity that we see for a pun, even if it's bad, we just have to say it.
Yeah, I saw the beer one, drinking the beer. Take the top off.
One, yeah.
That was elite.
Yeah.
Now some of them are just so funny, but like they're just so funny because they're so like just stupid. You know what I mean?
That's literally it. I think we say that our humour is like almost for like the kid in every adult.
Yeah.
It's like there's a part of you that's like, that's so dumb, but also hilarious. So that's kind of our humour, I think.
Yeah. Is there any big plans for We Got the Chocolates? What does We Got the Chocolates in 5 years look like?
Yeah, I love this question because I think that it's hard to know like what is actually possible. I think that's the thing. Like the space is so ever growing, and probably at the moment we just feel like there's like almost littler things that we kind of want to do better in terms of more so like behind the scenes, what our week looks like and how much time and effort we put into which task kind of thing, I guess, because it feels like it would be great. Like we're experimenting with like a live show at the end of this year, which you should come to, by the way.
Yeah, where is that?
Get you back up. It is in Brisbane at the moment, but hopefully it goes well, and then we'll go Sydney, Melbourne, and we've got to get back to Adelaide too because I played a lot of cricket down there.
Never been there, eh?
Adelaide.
Never.
Good place. I heard Will Taylor say Geelong's like a better Adelaide. It was the worst statement I've ever heard.
He says some rogue things. That guy. He's a good bloke.
He is a great man. But no, he's definitely. I think he's a bit biased towards Geelong there. I love it. I lived at Henley Beach in Adelaide. It was an unbelievable place.
Yeah, I got to go there. Yeah, only really done the the East Coast of Australia.
Yeah, that's fair. That's probably where we spend most of our time now as well. But yeah, like the live show space would be really cool. I'd probably love to eventually have other podcasts under kind of like the Chocks Media umbrella. I sort of look at like what the girls from Shameless have done and feel that's like an unbelievable, like Dill Buckley's kind of done that with Clubby Sports too. In America, like Barstool Sports, I guess, is the peak like of that. And I feel like that type of operation is really cool where you're able to sort of start other podcasts and bring in other talent and people that are really good at what they do and sort of all try and make better content and upskill and drive each other along. I think that would be a cool position to be in. So that's, I guess that's what I hope. I don't think there's any barrier for when you can stop making content. That's what I kind of love about the podcasting space. Is like someone like Hamish and Andy, who I've listened to since I was 17, are still probably the best podcasters in the country. So I don't think we have to look at it in 5 years and be like, we're going to be too old or whatever. Like it's, or we have to be at any particular position. I think like also individually, I'd probably love to do more in like the cricket commentary kind of space and stuff. Whereas Mitch, my brother, is a bit like probably not as like keen on doing public speaking and stuff. So that's maybe like that's kind of what I mean. I'm not sure what other avenues kind of open from what we're doing, which is why I guess I just kind of love trying to wake up every day and get a little bit better at every little thing that we do, and hopefully eventually it kind of like compounds into being really good at stuff and see what doors are see what doors are kind of opened there. But we also would love to make better. I think we've done a really good job at short form content, but I guess in 5 years we'd love to be really good long form like YouTube.
Yeah, the long form's got to be like
creators too.
so engaging now because
Yeah.
no one has attention spans.
That's right.
So,
We did like a hole-in-one challenge recently.
yeah, I watched it.
A
Yeah.
YouTube video. And I just felt like that was, like that's not the type of video that went viral first, but it was such a cool and inspiring video to make. I probably didn't do as much of the hard work, but like Mitch and Dave's kind of editing behind the scenes on that was like I found watching that just so cool as like a project that we put so much time into. So I hope that in 5 years we're making very good YouTube videos as well.
Yeah. Are you big into the sort of business side and behind the scenes as well, or are you mainly just like being on the mic?
Yeah, well, I think between my brother and I, Mitch would be more the business kind of finance and like that technical behind the scenes sort of stuff, whereas I've probably always been more the creative and outgoing and throw a million ideas and see which one works kind of thing. That's probably been the two roles that we've played, so a bit of yin and yang there, I guess. But I also do have like an interest in, I feel like you kind of, have to be a bit of a fool to like just think that the business will just keep running if I don't know anything about it. So I kind of have to try and get a bit more across those type of things as well, which is cool. And like having Mitch as my brother, who is very knowledgeable in those areas, is nice to kind of learn off him a little bit as well. And I'd hope that he can learn stuff with me and vice versa, like as a group that we work together on things and help each other get better. Yeah,
I feel like people see, or not, but you see a podcast and you just think, oh, they go in, they record it for an hour a week and that's it.
Yeah.
But there's so much going to behind the scenes, like all the editing, everything like that. Like even reaching out to people, it's like a lot of work.
Yeah, and that's probably the stuff that I think we can get better at too. Like that's kind of what I mean. It's not like as glitz and glamour in terms of like what's it look like in 5 years, but I hope that we can get really, efficient at making content so that then there's other things that you can take on, or looking at writing a live show or releasing books or whatever other people do like down the track. But I feel like it kind of starts with having a really efficient process for your podcast. But you're exactly right. Like even you walking in here with notes for the podcast, like people wouldn't know that. It just feels like, oh yeah, they just started having a chat. But like there is actually, if you just jump on a microphone and just start talking, a lot of the time it's actually not great content. Like there does have to be some sort of storytelling arc or some sort of plan to it generally, which is what people do, I guess.
Yeah, I remember when I first started, you kind of get, like I did it with a couple of my mates, and you kind of get on, you're like, oh yeah, we'll just get on, we'll just yarn. Yeah. You know, you get on, you're like, so what did everyone have for dinner last night? Yeah. Sorry, what was I going to say?
Looks in the notes.
Yeah. Check out prep. I prep. Do you have any advice for someone in your shoes 5 years ago who wants to start a podcast but maybe just hasn't started it yet?
Yeah, nice. I think the two bits of advice are almost like do it. Like that's not a great piece of advice, but like do it. And I don't just mean do it as in like start once and then go, oh, well, I tried. It's like give yourself like a genuine run time of like, we talk about this in cricket a little bit sometimes. It's a weird analogy, and if you don't know cricket, it's probably strange, but like we talk about how bowlers will sometimes come up with a plan and then they try it for like 5 balls and go like, oh, that didn't work. But whereas like if you look at like people in the Australian setup or like elite cricketers, they could stick at the one plan for like 8 or 9 overs before they get rewarded for it.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a lot of lessons you can take out of that, like patience and persistence in terms of the stuff that we do too, because it's very rare that people will you'll start a podcast and then 1 million people will start listening to it.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen that happen. I feel like the closest, like I always feel like We Mean Well started with like a massive bang like that because they were both huge creators like Jarch and Lou, and then they came together and started this podcast. I feel like maybe they had the best basis for like blowing up straight away. But then if you spoke to them, I've never got to ask them this, but if you spoke to them, I feel like there's a chance that they'd go like, nah, we put out like 10 episodes before anyone listened. Because it's very hard to do to just blow up straight away.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like everyone expects to blow up straight away. Like, my podcast is good, it will blow up. But I feel like even if it's good, you still got to have that groundwork, you know what I mean? Like when you blew up, you had 95 episodes, so people could go back to number 1 and listen for 95 hours, you know what I mean? Yeah. Instead of if you blew up on the first episode, they listen to one episode and that's it, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And I think like the other thing is like then when you like get momentum is to always be kind of looking for what's working, like what's your method of success and what's going well. Almost get like a little bit analytical around the performance of things so that you get like you're able, because getting momentum is one thing I think, but then like keeping it that can sometimes be the challenge as well. Is like when you've got momentum, keep going and look at what's working and try and make more of that type of content. I think that's probably like something that we didn't do great at the start as well. So
really?
we had this good period of momentum with like particularly on YouTube I'm talking about, and then we probably like didn't realize how good what we had was. And then now probably in a position where we're like fighting like hell to try and reverse the momentum and get that growing again kind of thing. So yeah. I think, the consistency of like committing to what you're doing, but then also looking like analytically at ways that you can make it better and better. I guess that would be the two. Like never think like, I don't know. I kind of always, again, like relating it to sport, I always feel like there's something else that you can get better at. Like I get frustrated when I watch people like cricket training stand around and do nothing. I'm like, well, you dropped a catch last week, so go and do some fielding or something. Like there's things that you can get better at all the time.
Yeah. Do you think sport has really helped you in your like podcast journey and creator journey, just to have those lessons from when you were young?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a great, I think sport is wonderful life lessons can be learnt from sport, particularly team sport. I would say I don't know, but sometimes like tennis, I feel like is not actually. It can sometimes do the reverse because you feel like most of the tennis stories you read are about kids that are blowing up at their parents or whatever for smashing rackets and stuff like that. Whereas team sport, I just think you have to learn so many lessons about working together and improving yourself and playing like your role within a team and things like that. And I think a lot of that can be taken for what we do now, definitely in terms of, particularly since like trying to look at it as more of a business rather than just like chucking up content and not really thinking about it. I think there's like a difference between like creating content or being a content creator, which lots of people do an amazing job of, and then trying to sort of have like a podcast and routine and consistency around when you put stuff out. But yeah, I think lessons from sport I've taken heaps to now trying to run a business, which is not something that I ever thought I would be doing. I probably liked just when I was a teacher, I'd go to work and I'd never think about where the money came from. I just knew it went into my bank account every week, and that was kind of all I thought about. So it's a very different challenge now. But,
was there like a crossover of teaching and podcasting? Yeah. Did you ever get recognized? Like, did your students ever see you online and stuff?
Heaps. I think I was a hero for a bit with the kids who just thought, but then it worked. Yeah, it didn't really work for me because the kids would be like, do you know Sir's got like a million followers on TikTok? But just like, it wasn't me personally. It was We Got the Chocolates. But because my face was on it, they would recognize it. But then it also meant that I had no authority in the classroom because they were just like, this guy's a TikToker. Yeah. So it was like, that did not really work for me in terms of teaching. So that was probably the point where I was like, I think we got to go all in on this We Got the Chocolates thing because I can't keep rocking up as a relief teacher and having kids recognise me.
Yeah. How do you go getting recognised now?
It happens a bit, like, but it's always lovely. Like, it's certainly not at the point where you're like, oh, this is annoying. Like, you know, when like proper like Justin Bieber was blowing up at the paparazzi a couple of weeks ago.
Standing on business.
I don't think I'll ever get to that point.
You see Leigh Drennan on 9 News. I'm standing on business.
On the sidewalk. I don't think that'll ever be me. I find it so flattering and so nice, and it's just like a great sense of building a community too, which is kind of what we're trying to do. Or certainly what makes it a nice place is having a community of people that feel loved and respected and like they like each other. And so for that reason, it's so positive when we go to the footy or cricket or whatever, and people do recognise you and come and have a chat. It's very nice.
Have you had any encounters where you're like, fuck, that was so awkward?
Well, Mitch probably, like around the Prince Albert story, there was a period where we'd be like walking through airports and stuff, and people would be yelling out, Mitch, how's your penis? So that probably made him slightly more uncomfortable, but I just thought it was hilarious. There's times where I'm quite bad at wrapping up conversations. Oh, yeah. So there's times where I'll speak to people and the boys, like the Goldie and Mickus and Mitch will like chip me and be like, I reckon that conversation was like 10 minutes longer than it needed to be. I just suck at exiting conversations. I haven't worked out a strategy for how to wind them up. so that's what they've never had a bad interaction, but I've had a few where I was like, oh yeah, probably the last 15 minutes of that conversation were unnecessary.
There's obviously a lot of podcasts, or there's obviously a million podcasts out there, a million people making content. Why did We Got the Chocolates break through the barrier and become successful?
Yeah, nice. I genuinely think it was the persistence thing. I think it was because we kept showing up that eventually people, because sometimes I think I've read this around like the marketing funnel and stuff, which is not stuff that I'm all across yet. But again, in my aspirations to be better at business, these are like things that I read. And I've read things about the fact that, again, like sometimes people need 3 or 4 times of seeing your content or seeing your ad or whatever it is before they're like, actually, yeah, that sounds all right, I will click on that. And I think that's genuinely what it was for us, is that we kept showing up even when no one was necessarily listening except mum. And we kept putting ourselves out there, and eventually it cut through with just how we got better at editing videos and learned how to tell stories better. And it was sheer persistence and practice. I think there was no other like secret sauce. I don't really think. I think that's the thing that played into our favour, is just we just kept going, even when probably other people would have not, because we didn't really have the results on the board.
Yeah. Was there ever a time we like, shit, like we did it, you know what I mean?
No, I don't think we've had that yet, because we still feel like there's so many things that we can do better. You know what I mean? Like we go to work every day, and I genuinely do call it work and go, these are the things we want to try and improve at, which is a nice headspace to be in. So I don't think we've ever got to the point where we've been like, wow, we've made it, this is amazing. We've just got so many things that we think we can do better, like the YouTube stuff and so we probably haven't had the time to sit there and go, how good are we?
Yeah.
But hopefully eventually we look back and go, that was cool that we kept going and that we made that what it was, I hope.
Yeah. You're obviously a very funny man yourself. Do you have, I'm putting you on the spot here a bit.
Yeah, that's
probably
fine.
should have told you this before.
Nah, that's
but
all right.
do you have like your 3 funniest people in the world? It can be your mate, or it can be like Kevin Hart, you know what I mean?
Yeah, okay. That's cool. Oh, I love that. The fact that you've gone that way. I think that it's a bit rare, some a bit niche, some of this, but like Carl Barron, the Aussie comedian, is who, he'd be an older man now. Look, he's older than me, but he was someone that I grew up watching and just been like, the way he would turn simple things like your dad telling you to close the door or whatever, which everyone can relate to, and turn that into a comedy skit or whatever, like scene. I thought was amazing. So I'd say him. I've always thought like Hamish Blake is incredibly funny, and again, like probably a huge influence on why I was obsessed with radio or podcasting and stuff at the start. And then like the next 2 I actually do kind of know. One of them, no one would know. It was my mate at cricket. His name's Carl Micken, in Adelaide. Like when we played for West Torrens, and his humour when we were there is like, I just think he was the funniest man that I've ever met. That's not like
famous.
I think he's like does pitches now, like cricket pitches. I think that's what he makes. So he's not at all. He makes 0 content. No one would know that he's funny except for his mates.
Yeah.
And he is an incredibly, incredibly humorous man. Like some of my funniest memories got him at the central figure. And then like the Kick It Forward boys, Josh Garlop and Harry Fitzgerald and Georgiel, I've like had the pleasure of getting to hang out with a few times now, and I think those guys are hilarious.
Yeah, I swear I saw a video were you guys at the pub with them or something?
Yeah,
like seeing your mates at the pub? That was elite.
And that was Harry's like idea. And even when he came in and said it, we were like, it seems like such a simple idea. Like we couldn't really picture what it would look like in video. And then when they showed us the video, we're like, okay, that's unbelievable. So they get comedy, that's for sure.
I feel like I see videos by them. I'm like, why didn't I think of that? It's like I saw one and it was them, and it was like a Aussie tourist going to a different country, and he's like, oh, g'day, mate. Like, how you going? Like, really outplaying the accent. And I feel like that's so relatable. But you never think of making a video like that.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I've ended up giving you about 5 there. You asked for 3, but it's hard to split.
More the merrier.
The Kick It Forward I see is one person.
Yeah.
They stop together. But like I followed Josh Garlop when I think the page just used to be called Josh Garlop. and now they've changed it to kick it forward. So he probably like drove that at the start. But they're all hilarious.
Yeah,
and I love
elite.
when their videos come up. I'm like, I have to watch them.
Yeah. Well, Leigh, you're a legend. Thanks for coming on. It's been an honor. You boys really inspired me to make a podcast, and probably the first podcast I ever listened to, and I still listen to it to this day. So thank you so much for coming on.
That's very cool, Lachie. That's great feedback. Thanks so much for reaching out. I would have said yes even quicker if I knew that was the case and that that we were the first podcast you listened to. But no, you're doing a great job with this stuff, the social videos that you make as well. And that was the reason that I was keen to come on, I guess. It's like I also love the fact that, just putting yourself out there and doing it. I remember at the start when I started making podcasts, you'd reach out to people and they'd leave you on red. And if someone said yes, it was exciting and it was helpful. And hopefully this helps your journey and grow a little bit. That'd be magnificent.
Yeah, when you replied, I was like, fucking oath. I think you replied at like 12 at night, and I was still awake, and I was like, holy shit, this is going to be fucking awesome.
Yeah, I'm actually a terrible replier on my personal stuff now because I put so much time into trying to write back to our community for We Are the Chocolates. So then usually like just as I'm about to sleep, which is probably not a great sleep habit, I'll get my phone out and go like, oh, I wonder what happened on my personal page. And then that's where I saw your message. So yeah, I'm glad that we got to do it. It was great.
Yeah. But thank you so much.
No worries, man. Thank you.